All right, everyone. So the Super Bowl has come and gone, and we were treated to quite a few good and a few really bad commercials this time around. Overall, though, I would have to say that this was a much better batch than we've had in the past. Arguably even better than the game itself, depending on what kind of brand of football you find yourself enjoying. The list, I believe there was 48 different commercials that debuted in the big game, and I am absolutely not going into all of them. I am going to focus on a couple that I happen to like a lot, and some that I thought were a complete disaster, just because that's what you do post Super Bowl. I'm going to start with the bad because I like to end on a positive note. So, bad. Number one, oil of Olay and Mexican avocados. Those were just why for me. Using people as the contestants in a dog show trying to eat avocados, like I would have loved to have been in that pitch meeting and seen how that was conveyed in a way that someone bought into that concept and thought that was a good idea. That was just dumb. I mean, I know they were trying to be clever and silly, but that was just dumb. Oil of Olay, sorry guys, but doing the horror flick where the bad guy stops becoming a killer because you have killer skin. Yikes. That's a reach, and it was a giant fail in my personal opinion. Now, here's where it gets interesting. There were some bad commercials, but there were two that were beyond bad. Burger King, I'm looking at you. Why in the world would you spend $5 million showing an old documentary-looking footage of Andrew Warhol eating your sandwich? None of it looked good. It didn't represent your brand. I'm sorry, but Burger King's not edgy. I don't know if they were trying to tie that in somehow. It was just awful. And why Burger King thought that made sense and would be a good idea is beyond me. But I hold one brand in utter contempt for their torturous commercial, and I'm talking to you, Michelob. That whisper business, I cannot think of a time where I have ever looked for the remote faster. Just to pause, to mute, to just make it stop. For me, having people whisper like that in my ear is what most people probably feel like with fingernails on a chalkboard. Like, if you wanted to be off-putting, which I don't think was the intent, you nailed it. So I would say well done to Michelob for making a commercial that people would talk about, because people are clearly talking about it, but I don't think it was in the way they intended. Now, good stuff, and that's more fun. Now, I've already given Amazon and Bud Light a lot of props, so yes, their commercials were awesome. Some that I didn't even know about, most of us didn't know about, like the Game of Thrones Bud Light tie-in. That was awesome, genius. But since I've already given them some kudos in previous podcasts, I'm not going to do it again. What I will do is say good work and well done to Stella Artois. That's my kind of commercial, where you take something about your brand, spin it on its head. But Stella did it a little differently. They used other branded or characters who have a branded drink and used it to sell their beer. Obviously, if you're a fan of Sex and the City or The Big Lebowski, you know that the dude drinks a Caucasian, aka a White Russian, and Carrie drinks her Cosmopolitans. And so to have two iconic characters that literally have a brand of a drink that they prefer choose a beer instead, not just a beer, but a Stella, was excellent. Well done. I loved how they tied those two together. I also think that the bubbly Bublé crossover was genius. It was actually pretty funny too, especially the end with him scratching out with Michael Bublé sitting on the floor scratching out the spelling and writing in his accent mark. really funny. Bubbly, obviously, is a brand that spells bubbly in an atypical way. And Michael Bublé, having a French-Canadian background, obviously spells his name with an accent and is slightly different. And I'm sure most American audiences, when he was first getting started, had a hard time pronouncing that as well. So to tie those two things together and then even take it a step further with Michael Bublé wanting to scratch out and amend the spelling, awesome. Very, very good. Well done indeed. And then the NFL. Who would have thought that the NFL would release one of the best commercials out there this time around? That 100-year game, in fact, I think the only thing working against it is that there are so many people who do watch that game that are not huge football fans. They go to parties, they do this sort of thing, and a lot of it might have been lost on a non-football fan if you don't know those characters, if you don't know the history between them and how that all played out. It probably wasn't as satisfying to a non-football fan, but for me, I thought they absolutely nailed it. Very funny, very well done. So Amazon, Bud Light, Stella, Bubbly, and the NFL win my Well Done awards for the Super Bowl. And Michelob, if they still did the Come On Man segment on ESPN, or if Dave Damashek was doing his shame report, you would be on it.